Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We're virtual only, based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We solve little bits of revelation. We call it the philosophy of eschatology, the thought behind the thought, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. And so we're solving a little bit of Revelation 6, a little bit of Revelation 11, a little bit of Revelation 13, and setting up for the Gog-Magog war of Revelation 19 today. And so it's going to be Trump, peace, and the red heifer, and we'll go through from the fun stuff, the wonderful stuff like the red heifer, and then we'll move into the deeper, darker things. So first of all, the red heifers, well, there were 5, now there's 4. They burned one of them, and so it was very close to the full moon of July, which I'll show you why that's significant. I'll show you the patterns that the Satanists are showing. So what are we doing again? We're doing the philosophy of the end of days, showing you the Bible, showing you prophecy, showing you the news, and going through, starting out again with the red heifers, which that's part of Revelation 11, introducing Tahor, we call it, which is ritual purity back in to the services. And so the 144,002 witnesses will be part of that purity. So you need that to be reestablished. And they'll conduct purity for about 1,260 days. So we have a weird situation where we have the 5 heifers over in Shiloh of Israel. And even though the war's been going on, everybody's been talking about the red heifers, especially in the last couple of days here. So once again, it has to be an adult cow with reddish brown hair, no hairs of a different color. One of them had 2 black hairs, and that's the one that was sacrificed. No blemishes, never used for any other purpose, can never carry a yoke or anything like that. Once again, 5 total. 1 or 2 maybe qualify. 2 have been disqualified. 1 was burned. So we think there's 1 left. And keep in mind, as Netanyahu flew over to have dinner with Trump, they were burning the cow in Shiloh, okay, or nearby Shiloh. And not much information has been published because this came from 7 News, Arutz Shava, which is odd because my friend Adam should have been publishing this, but I think it could only be done by them. And only Netanyahu could approve this. So watch, biblical red heifer ritual comes to life in rehearsal ceremony. So it's not the red heifer, it's a red heifer with 2 black hairs, and it was burned, and they tested their system. I think it's bringing us closer to the Gog-Magog war. And so the Temple Institute was involved in this, but it was very official, very, very much so. So what does it mean? It means we're closer, very, very close. And so practice. Now, this is from Israel 365 from my friend Adam. And so the real event occurred on the 8th, as far as we can tell, in Shiloh there in Israel, just north of Jerusalem. And so it housed at Shiloh, and then the Bonei Israel organization took care of this process. Once again, you understand the qualifications of being the red heifer. The red heifer may only be burned at a specific location on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. The Red Heifer Project is being carried out by the Temple Institute under the auspices of Rabbi Azariah Ariel. Any information or developments concerning the Red Heifer Project can only be considered authoritative if they come from these sources. So that's why Adam didn't publish this right away. It had to be authoritatively done. So it's just interesting. The Red Heifers showed up in September of 2022. Claims by anti-Semites, Hamas, and Hezbollah that the preparation for the restoration of the temple service by the Jews incited their attacks on Israel on October 7th of 2023. Who knows? This has been done before in 2019. So if you want to, you can pause. But this is interesting from July 11th from, once again, Israel 365 News and my friend Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz. So one more report. Chris Brunette, red heifer update. Red heifer raised in Israel was disqualified for sacrifice after 2 black hairs were found on the body. It was used in the practice ceremony on July 10th. Okay, so what we're pushing toward is eventually red heifers will produce tahor, which is ritual purity for the 2 witnesses and the 144,000. And then there will also need to be mikvahs and other things like that. It's probably a list of 20 to 30 things that they'll need to do. But these are 2 of the big things. Mikvahs are baptismals, but they're really, running water. Can't be dead water or anything like that. That's what would make it work. Other things that need to occur that are just a blessing that they're occurring right now. This is once again Adam again from Israel 365. For the first time in 2,000 years, Israeli mill to produce semolina kosher for temple offerings. So the bread's being used, halechem, and so the lechem, the bread that would be used for the two loaves of the meal offerings, the mincha, things like that, it's going to be the right type. So a bracha is bread and wine. So first of all, you have to be clean, ritually pure tahor, and then you have to take a mikvah. But then at some point in time, you need to do a bracha, bread and wine. So this is the bread part of that, and this is strictly halakhic requirements for use in the temple. We're getting closer, people. This is the wine part. This is from King David's vineyard. They found the seeds, and they're putting it back into Israeli soil. I thought it would be red grapes, but it's green grapes. It's still interesting. And so it's just a return of the Jewish people to Judea, a return to the very beginning. Once again, a bracha is bread and wine. And this is Ari Abramowitz and Sim Herring. But Adam published it. So you can see some of the pictures and see what's going on. Just very interesting. So they found the seeds in 2005, and now they're starting to grow them. And we have grapes in Israel that are from King David's time, which is 2,000 years ago. Really weird. Torah's teaching that one who plants a vineyard is exempt from going to war. So they hope that they'll be exempt from a war. We're hoping peace is coming. So Israel, peace. Israel alone? Not really. Israel is not alone anymore. You've got many other countries jumping in with them. So John Haller found this and clipped it today. So thank you, John, for letting me share this. Once again, the Abraham Accord, the Abraham Alliance. It's time for the new Middle East. People are joining in. We could call it Abraham Shield, and we could call it Pax Israelica. Yeah, it's kind of romanticized with the Roman, the Latin phrase. So keep in mind, it's popping up all over the place. Abraham Shield, once again, Haller found this, and so it's just interesting to see these pushes towards peace in the land, and the Abraham Accords expanding. Technically, the way it works in Daniel 9:27 is it has to be increased, strengthened. It has to be more powerful than before. So Trump envoy hints at new countries joining Abraham Accords. We don't know how many they have. They're not telling what it will be. But this could happen this year. I mean, they're pushing hard and fast. And so I'll just read the verse, Daniel 9:27. And he strengthened, he increased a covenant with many great ones, the Ravim, they're the Rav, great, for one period of 7, which would be 7 years. And in the midst, 3.5 years in, he causes the sacrifice and the present, in the face of the offering, to cease. And the right on the wing of abominations he is making desolate, even until the consummation, and that which is determined is poured out on the desolate one. So basically, they'll start the sacrifices, they will be tahor, and then they will end by the Antichrist. We call him the beast. And then you'll go on for another 3.5 years where he'll rule. That's from Ynet News. This is all within the last couple of weeks here in July. So once again, as the full moon occurred, Trump and Netanyahu were getting together and discussing the Gaza deal, the Nobel nod. So the Nobel Peace Accord. The Trump is being nominated for an award for the Nobel Peace Prize. Full insights of Trump-Netanyahu dinner. Very interesting to see this during the time. Every single month, guys, the new moons are huge. The full moons are huge. Just notice it. I'll show you the slide in a little while, why it's so huge. But yes, huge. And then gifts. Netanyahu gave Trump a gift of a B-2 bomber for his mezuzah. So the mezuzah looks like a B-2 bomber. It's just interesting. So it's the Shema prayer. I happened to pray it again today. Hear Israel, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. So it's just interesting to see this pop up. Once again, it's Adam from Israel 365 describing this. He's a friend. He's a wonderful guy. And Netanyahu ends U.S. visit with no Gaza deal, but progress on reconstruction. So this is from the All Monitor from July 10th. And so, according to Walla, Netanyahu told them, the deal could happen soon. I'm working on it. So peace is breaking out. And so it's interesting. He's working at Gaza, the ceasefire. He's working on the Iranian nuclear deal. Israeli talks with Syria, too. It's just interesting to see this. So, and this is interesting from my standpoint because I'm very close to the Chabad people. They pick a side with Ben-Gvir. And my friend Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz doesn't like Ben-Gvir that much. And I don't understand why. But it's Israeli politics. And there are different sides, even within the Orthodox rabbis. So far-right national security, Ithamar Ben-Gvir, went to the United States back a little while ago, met with the Chabad people. I wonder if Netanyahu met with them too. Minister Ben-Gvir bolstered by Crown Heights visits that Ben-Gvir gave a speech at 770. Very interesting. They're quite aware of this. This is from Shomrim. The Shomrim would be the guys that escort the bride around before she gets married. So it's just interesting to see they're keeping the Torah and they're keeping the bride safe. Yeah, it's very interesting. Senior Israeli official, intel shows enriched uranium was at Iran sites when bombed. So there's no doubt about the fact that they blew up the enriched material and that they really put Iran back by probably 10 years. So this is the Times of Israel from just a few days ago. And so we're positive that now this is going to flip everything over to a different caliphate. Turkish Caliphate instead of the Iranian Caliphate, which we never thought it would be. They'll join in at the end with Gog, but it's going to be run by Turkey. Okay, that's the region. And Russia will be involved, but they're not going to get well, they'll be part of all the nations. But really, it seems like it's going to go through Turkey. And so, once again, Iran posts image that appears to depict a nuclear strike on Israel. Well, guess what? That ain't going to happen because God is not going to allow Jerusalem to be nuked. There probably will be a nuclear explosion on Tel Aviv at some point in time, and maybe another wicked town up north, but nothing around Jerusalem. So just get used to that. So it's just interesting to see this. This is from Haller again. He showed it this morning. And keep in mind, there are fights going on between Russia and Iran. There's, as Haller called it, spy versus spy. A dozen knives in the back of Islamic Revolution. Secret FSB documents confirm Iran and Russia are waging a spy war against each other. So it's not love and roses between Russia and Iran. So this will be interesting as things move forward. It's not going to be a clean situation. And the Kremlin needs to take care of themselves right now because they're having problems with Ukraine. So just be aware that the fights are brewing. Even Russia and China are not getting along that well. They have disparate views. They just do. This is from Le Monde, French newspaper, from Gilles Paré, the challenges of Pax Hebraica in the Middle East. So everybody's picking up the Latin aspect, and French and Latin are fairly close. So Pax Hebraica, which means that it's a piece of the Hebrews in that region. The bombing of Iran's main nuclear sites by the U.S. marks the triumph of Israel, which is in just a few months has become the sheriff of the Middle East, writes Le Monde columnist Gilles Paré. So it's just interesting to see this occurring, guys. This is what we'll see going forward. We'll see the growth of the Pax Israel and Pax, not a peace, but the forging of the Gog conflagrate. So it's just interesting. So the article states less than 6 months later, the bombarding of Iran's main nuclear sites by the most powerful army in the world during the night of Saturday, June 21st to Sunday, June 22nd, confirmed the triumph of Israel, which in only a few months had become the sheriff of the Middle East. Wow. Of course, the U.S. has always voiced an unambiguous opposition to the Iranian regime, and especially to its nuclear program, yet the Israeli Prime Minister managed to enlist at the moment of his choosing a U.S. president who, I believe this is prophecy. I believe God put President Trump there to stop the nuclear program of Iran. Okay, so Trump is that Cyrus. Upon taking office on January 20th, insisting that his success would be measured by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. Very interesting. Okay, so there will be a Gog at some point in time. I'm showing you the picture of number 44. I think he's the Gog, but Erdogan is pushing hard for that. In a speech today, Turkish President Erdogan set his sights on conquering a vast territory stretching from China, the China Sea to the Adriatic, envisioning a Turkish, Arab, and Kurdish alliance to achieve it, the Neo-Ottoman, the Neo-Caliphate. That's Erdogan on July 12th of 2025. So you'll see this caliphate form at some point in time, and you'll see the leader. We'll see if it's number 44, but you'll see this caliphate form, and Iran will be part of it, but they won't be the leaders. It'll be Gog from Magog, which is near Turkey or in Turkey. So prophecy in Palestine. You're literally seeing Erdogan and the Turkish forces, the caliphate forces, quote, prophecy. Israel's theological narratives fuel the Gaza war, while Palestinians fight every day for truth, their rights, and survival. From I can't remember which source this was. I clipped it from Haller. I'll have to figure out who it is. Theology of deception, militaristic messianism. So yeah, this is interesting. So just be aware of the picture on the right-hand side. The caliphate will form at some point in time and come against Israel. All of them. And this is from a Turkish source, obviously. It won't come from Iran anymore. Even though Iran, and you can see this is from a Turkish source. Everything is a stan. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Hindistan, Yunanistan, which is Greece. Everybody's pretty much a name or a stan, okay? And so Pax Israelica. Interesting. That's circled in the middle there. So this is, again, from Haller, and wow, what an interesting thing to see. He, just watch his video today, and in the midst of it, you'll see this particular video. Very interesting to see how they are trying to link things together into the Gog War. There is your Gog War coming out of Turkey, and this is what they advertise all the time: the Hagia Sophia, and then eventually the Temple Mount. They want to take it all over. Then this is 2025 they're talking about. So watch Turkey, watch Syria, watch Gog. Thread: Qatar is quietly opening a new front against Israel in Syria, and they're doing it under the guise of popular resistance. Here's what you need to know. So Syrian forces that are supposed to be peaceful just went up and massacred 1,500 Alawites, which is Bashar al-Assad's people. The chain of command led to Damascus. So this is supposed to be the peace guy, Ahmed al-Shara. More than 1,200 commanders from the armed factions that joined forces to overthrow Bashar al-Assad gathered in the presidential palace in Damascus to show in the show of unity among men who had fought each other as much as they'd fought Assad. So thousands of government forces converged on the coast. Sectarian bitterness from years of civil war fed anger. Yeah, just nasty stuff. And this is pretty current, people. So keep in mind, watch Syria and Turkey. Watch Gog coming up from that area. Okay, now this is going to be weird. This is patterns. And I want you to see this in terms of, on the left-hand side is a picture of crop circles in England that sounds like what I've analyzed from my blood moon eclipse theory and picture on the right-hand side, within the middle being the centennial conclave of the Luciferian hierarchy. That's what I'm saying. You can see the pentagram in the middle here. You can see the new moons, the full moons. You can see what's going on here, and they're parroting what's occurring in the skies, people. And this is the Satanists, the Luciferians, whatever you want to call them. You can call them the supersessionisms, the anti-Noahide, the replacement theology people. The Jews are not real Jews. All of those types of people. So the sun and the moon have the patterns, and the Satanists are noticing that. I already noticed it with the help of Courtney Turner. Wow, thank you, Courtney. So once again, and I'll read the small print in just a second here. Let's go down to the bottom. The Satanists are warning us about the odd blood moon lunar eclipse patterns for 2025, and the externalization of the hierarchy to release fallen angels from their prisons on June 11th. That's what they try to do. Their next satanic event will be the eclipse of September 7th and 8th of 2025. And you can go to the cropcircleconnector.com and take a picture, take a peek at the pictures that they have. Very interesting, very satanic, but it is interesting to watch. And once again, this is what you would hit on their page. And so you can see the aerial shots, the video of the ground shots, things like that. But you can see that's the pattern. And then you can see the actual, they clip down all of the wheat then on the 12th of July of 2025. And you can watch a YouTube, Crop Circle in Ludwell, Wilshire, 12th of July, 2025. And that's the YouTube connection for it if you want to snip that. So Stonehenge, Satanists, and the Druids are connected to this. And they are just looking at what I'm seeing, which is 314, a blood moon eclipse, 7/8 of 25, another blood moon eclipse. In the midst of it is a bunch of full moons and new moons, and the Satanists met on June 11th. So once again, blood moon eclipse of Purim on March 14th, full moon of Passover, and that was Passover. That's huge in its own aspect. It's one of the Moedim. Full moon of May 12th, second Passover. You found King Trump flying to Saudi Arabia and the Middle East to conduct peace deals. And then on June 11th, you had the Lucifer Trust people get together and try to exhort their fallen angels to enter our realm. Then July 10th, little tiny blip down in the bottom right, Trump, Bibi, peace and safety on July 10th. So each one has been a huge event, and the new moons have been huge too. Just amazing. Pardon me. So basically, things are moving faster and they're hitting their cadences, their sequences. So the big deal coming up is going to be the blood moon eclipse of September 7th and 8th, and then also the partial solar eclipse on Rosh Hashanah of this year. It's going to be interesting to watch these things. So September 21st, you'll know, partial solar eclipse, that should be Rosh Hashanah. And we'll just see, if we see the new moon or anything like that on that particular day. And you can only have a blood moon eclipse on a full moon, and you can only have a partial solar eclipse or a solar eclipse on a new moon. So just very interesting. It's going to be a busy year, people. So now we're getting into the other stuff. This is bizarre how the world is changing and the poles are shifting, and that's Isaiah 24, 16 through 21. 20 through 21, yeah. Ice melt causes volcanoes, and the ice is starting to melt. You'll start to notice it more. And scientists, I'll show you the article on the next slide. Lastly, folks, the big geology news. The scientists have demonstrated convincingly how the melting of ice in the earth can awaken volcanoes. That's what's happening. Get ready for it. Just as heavy ice can cover and cause isoadic readjustment to the crust, it can also suppress magma, given the compression and solidification of the ground between the fire and the ice. Whether you buy the narrative of why the warming is happening, or you simply recognize it's still coming out of an ice age, that means we should expect volcanoes to be more of an issue going forward. Those volcanoes are already expected due to Earth's weakening magnetic field. We are in the middle of a pole shift after all. That's Ben Davidson from his video. And so Science Daily is backing it up and saying they've discovered that melting glaciers could unleash powerful volcanic eruptions across the world. So get ready for it. This is a new article. This is July 8th. So 2025, of course, Science Daily, so I can back it up with proof. And for all of the science stuff that I post, I can back it up with proof. I just don't have the time to go through each story in depth, but just we can predict volcanic activity in glacier-covered regions. We just can't. And then we have the big event that was prognosticated, prophesied by Ryo Tatsuki out of Japan for sometime in July. Well, I'll give you a reason why it could still occur. I monitor this about 2-3 times a day in terms of what's going on in Japan. It has not hit yet, but it's always active. Other than one day, I think it was Friday, the 12th, it was not active that day. But she has predicted other things that have all occurred, including the 2011 earthquake. So finally, on July 5th, 1999, 4 days after the publication of The Future I Saw, Tatsuki had a terrible dream about a massive catastrophe. In the dream, she was in the sky looking at the earth and saw a huge explosion in the sea between Japan and the Philippines, and the explosion caused a crack in the seabed, and then a large amount of magma erupted from the crack. Well, we're due for this, people. One, the polar ice is melting, so it's going to chill things down and cause volcanoes. And then the second thing is you're going to just have, well, I'll show you in the next slide. You'll see it. Okay, so on July 5th of 2021, she dreamed about the same situation again. Some people feel that meant it had to occur on July 5th. No, she said the time of the dream is July 2025, and we're moving along. So what you're seeing is a huge coronal hole occurring on the sun. You can see kind of moving along. It looks like a man falling. And you're starting to see some activity. That was just a few hours ago that I grabbed that. You're starting to see more energy, more, not photons, but protons coming and electrons coming at the Earth from this coronal hole. A lot of wind coming our direction. So we'll just see what happens from Vincent and Oppenheimer Ranch project. Just be aware by July 13th and 14th, and that time frame today should be the 13th. So tomorrow you'll start to notice more things, and sometimes it takes a week to stir things up, but just get ready for it. So then, in addition to this, the AMOC, so the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation, has collapsed quickly. And the SMOC, the Southern Meridional overturning circulation, is reversing fast. So whatever currents you were used to keep Europe warm and to keep other things safe, they're breaking down quickly and badly. So the AMOC is collapsing fast, the SMOC is reversing. And that means we'll have a domino effect. Collapse of the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation will impact other tipping elements and climate systems globally. So yeah, it's just going to be horrible as the weather completely reverses and flips and goes crazy on us. And storms like you don't want are going to pop up just for the strangest reasons. So get ready for it. It's going to be bizarre. Proof that this is the case from July 1st, Southern Ocean circulation reversed. And I have more articles, but I just want to prove to you that, and you can stop the slides if you want to and read this yourself. The main thing is this is true. This is scientific, and this is from the International Environmental Forum. Sorry, I'm a little bit dry today. Cursing Israel heresy. Now we're moving into the final section, the dark section. Cursing Israel. This is from the Christian Post. I didn't expect them to be that strong. I'm strong, but I'm a Messianic Jew. They're strong, and this is Friday, July 11th. New anti-Semitism rising among Christians is heresy. They came out and called it heresy. They're calling it Marcionism, Arius, and Pelagius. All of these early heretics used the Bible to argue for their heresies. This is amazing. They're citing in the middle right-hand side, Bible church pastor Joel Webbon is one of the loudest and most malicious of them all. He argues that the New Testament is not concerned with physical Jews, only with those who accept Christ. He cites Paul's statement in Romans 2 that no one is a Jew who is merely one outwardly, because circumcision is a matter of the heart, but by spirit. Therefore, Webbon alleges we Christians are to put no stock in the flesh of Jews unless they accept their type of Jewish Messiah. So whatever Webbon deems should be a Christian Messiah, then that's what the Jews have to accept, so it has to be on his terms. Well, this is ridiculous. So if Jesus doesn't pick up Sundays for worship and bacon, then he's not the Messiah, huh? Okay. There you go. So keep that in mind. This is disgusting, but thank you, Christian Post, for publishing this. Okay, so if you wonder why I'm incentivized on this, it's because I'm noticing this occur. This never could have occurred from 1948 to even maybe 20 years ago, and now it's occurring in the Christian community and within the Messianics, and that's problematic, okay? This is the Times of Israel saying that Mamdani from New York vows to arrest Netanyahu, likely oversteps what U.S. mayors can do, but this is fairly current here. So Mamdani should be the mayor at some point in time of New York, we assume, and he's bringing curses on New York, but he's going to bring a blessing, oddly enough, where he'll send Jews home for the second Exodus. So in some ways, it's bizarre to watch it, though. It's just bizarre. This is going to sound mean and nasty, but Rick Wiles, I listened to him from 2010 to 2014, and then I dropped him like a hot potato because he was anti-Semitic. He was spreading hate. He was terrible. And so True News had their final episode May 2nd of 2025. I left a program where I was a co-host because one of the people there was so horribly anti-Semitic, and you're saying, Joel, why are you so mean? Well, Haller left too, and all he did was growl. He never said a word. He just growled, okay? He's the second witness that it was horrible to be on that show, as this one person, you might happen to see him in the slide here someplace, just cursed Israel on a daily basis and Jews. Anti-Semitism rife among middle class. It's causing the second Exodus. So this is Jewish people in Britain left with nowhere to turn. They're going to have to come back home to Israel. God is calling them home. It's dangerous. So this is from Haller. I clipped it from him. I should have probably cited Haller, but it's from his video. I clipped this from Haller. Again, events instigating the second Exodus were stunned into silence by the evidence of UK anti-Semitism. You can pause any of these slides and read through them, but basically what they're saying is we must ensure that everyone enjoys rights and protections we have worked hard to develop. But the extremists are taking over. So there you go. And one more from Haller. Police make more Palestine action arrests. So they do things at times, but ultimately the tide is going the wrong direction. And this is from Gedaliah Bloom. Tucker Carlson is a fraud. He mimics the oldest anti-Semitic trope in history. So we never saw this before, people. We never saw Christians coming against Israel. Or they were quiet. But now, like Tucker, was able to pull this off at Turning Point USA with Charlie, amazing. So accusing Jews of dual loyalty while literally acting as a mouthpiece for Iran, Putin, and Qatar. So Tucker picked up cash from those places as he went over there, and now he's cursing Jews. We've never seen this before. So that's Tucker. And then Marco Rubio is getting tough on these people and saying, we don't even want you coming into America if you're going to curse the Jews. If you can't be reasonable. So this is some lady, and what's her name? Rapporteur Francesca Albanese and their illegitimate and shameful efforts to prompt the International Criminal Court against the U.S. and Israeli officials, companies, and executives. Horrible stuff. This is what's coming. There will be a battle for Jerusalem, why every nation covets God's holy city. It's coming down to Gog Magog. Once again, this is from Israel 365. And so as we celebrate these times with Jerusalem, we have to realize that there's going to be a battle over Jerusalem coming up. It's the Gog Magog War. So get ready for it. Israel debates restricting immigration rights under the law of return. Yeah, things are changing. You can't necessarily let everybody in just under the grandparent clause. So they've got issues. And so this is Adam again from Israel 365. Just interesting to see that Jews are going to need to come home. And it's going to be like Berlin in 1938-39, as you know that it's getting dangerous and that the people coming into power want them dead. So where are we at? We're in the birth pangs. You saw the birth pangs today. Where are we going to? The tribulation. But then the Great Tribulation. We have not hit either one of those yet. We're just bouncing along in the birth pangs. We're watching Trump with his peace deals. We're watching the Red Heifer. That could happen this fall. It could happen next fall. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in the know. So these things are happening, and you just have to be aware. So let me go through my notes and make sure that I took care of everything. So once again, when people tell you that they're anti-Israel, they're anti-Semites. They're anti-Israel, of course, supersessionists, anti-Noahide, replacement theology, that they're not real Jews. They call them the synagogue of Satan. They're cursing. I don't stand for that. And I don't think you can get clean garments and get into the wedding when you're cursing Israel and cursing the Jews. You have to read Romans 11 or 9 through 11 frequently and just stick with the Jews, because there's no condition stated anywhere throughout the Bible, especially when I said this last week too. Rehoboam was a wicked, horrible southern king in Judah. And Jeroboam would not let his people go down and fellowship in Jerusalem. It didn't matter how horrible Rehoboam was. That's what you're supposed to do. So you bless, okay? So, yeah, I think we've covered everything. So thank you very much for your time. And away we go. Be blessed. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry if I come across as being a little bit more emotional. It's because people that should be sticking with the Jews, this is the time to do so, are breaking from the Jews, and they're cursing the Jews, and I just won't stand for it. So thank you very much for your time. God bless. Good night.